Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Stephen and Kori. This is season 2, episode number 2. We're so excited to be coming back with you guys. And hey, how you doing, lady?
I'm getting it together every day.
Hey, that's right. We got to get
Together.
it together.
Every day.
So how are you guys doing out there? What is going on in your world? Hey, I have a question for you. Okay. If you're watching this episode and you're married, I have a question for you. When is the last time you gave your spouse a compliment about anything? Okay. When is the last time? How about you?
Today, I gave him a compliment today.
What was it?
I said, thank you so much for the lifestyle that we have. Um,
Oh,
we talked about where we met and how long ago we met
that's right.
and
We
where we
did.
both were in life. And yeah, for a while there, I was holding on to his coattails, just trying to keep up. Yeah.
Slow down,
Yeah.
slow down.
No, I was like, let's go.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Go.
I was definitely on a mission.
Yeah,
Definitely
yeah,
on a mission. Still are.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
still are.
We're just
What
on
about you
together.
guys?
Yeah.
What about you guys? Okay, you have to do this now because we want to see it. What we want you to do is just take a second, or while you're listening to this, just put in the comments, when is the last time you gave a compliment to your spouse and what that compliment was. We have to say, all of us
Mhm.
that are married couples, we have to get used to celebrating and appreciating our spouse even
That's right.
more by showering them with comments. Right?
And in saying that, there are some times that you can appreciate your spouse with the next topic that we're talking about today, because
That's
the
right.
next topic doesn't look like you're appreciating your spouse at all,
That's
but you
right.
actually are. You know what the next tell what the name of the next topic
Okay,
is?
the next topic is I love you, but I'm sleeping on the couch, or I love you and I'm sleeping in the separate bed tonight.
Tonight.
Just
Yes.
tonight,
Just tonight.
right?
Yes.
This is a very, very unique conversation that we're having. And again, in full disclosure, we have been bitten by the bug of this topic, right?
Yeah. It's
And we're
true.
going to bring it to you and we're going to talk about how we're wrestling with it
Oh,
and
yeah.
moving through it.
Yeah.
Also, we're going to talk about some data, but 40 years we've been at this marriage game and we've been on an exciting journey together. And it's fascinating because I remember when Kori and I were first married, people used to say, oh, we've been married for 50 years and it just seems like it was yesterday. I could not really truly understand that. But
Mhm.
honestly, having celebrated our 40th anniversary and into year 41, we can totally
Yes.
understand because
Absolutely.
we're actually different people, right?
Mhm.
And if you hang in here and get to the other side of all this, you'll become better people too,
Yep.
right?
So,
Ready to
so,
go?
so you're ready to
Fired up.
go. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So in this, I love you, but I'm sleeping on the couch tonight or in a separate bed tonight. We're talking about couples who talk in their sleep, maybe snore in their sleep,
Not
or
not so much.
have conversations in their sleep, kick or run in their
Oh
sleep.
my.
Yeah. Those are things that actually happen in that bed. And
And they impact your partner or they
oh,
impact your spouse.
absolutely, absolutely. And who knows if you're even getting good sleep,
Right.
But that is a discomfort when you have to stay in the bed, when you really want to get out of the bed and just go into another room and you're like, oh, would this person just stop? Would my husband just stop? Would my wife just shut up?
Yeah.
It's like, but they are
And what about
actually,
those folks that have sleep apnea and
yeah,
they sleep with a machine?
yeah.
Like,
And you're going to get good sleep if you sleep on the couch in a separate bed.
right.
But a lot of people struggle with this. Now, our statistics are going to tell you that there's a lot of people who don't struggle with it anymore. But um, I have something that I want to tell you. We looked up relationships in Australia. Now, this is one of the stats, but we wanted to put it as part of the topic because I thought it was so interesting.
Right on.
Relationships Australia, which is an article about relationships in Australia, writes, could sleeping in separate beds improve your relationship?
Could
That's
it
what I'm saying. Could it
improve?
improve your relationship?
Right.
So it's normal for couples apparently to sleep in separate beds, because how do we know this? This is a topic that we received from you guys to say, could you please talk about that? Because, and then we brought it up with other couples that we know. And what did they say? Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
I sleep in some beds. I also fall asleep on the couch, or I'm kind of lucky that I get to sleep on the couch some nights because I really need a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
So a lot of times this happens if you have a partner who travels a lot, or if your partner suffers from bouts of illness,
Yes.
or you never know. You just
You
sometimes
never
you
know.
just nod off on the couch and you just feel like, I don't feel like getting up. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm just going to wake up my spouse anyway. So I'm just going to stay here on the couch. That's a normal thing that's happening across the world.
Or sometimes it's a pattern. You
Mhm.
might grow up with parents that do this. Like I know really my mom, she rarely got in the bed. I mean, it was weird. She would just sleep, You just fall asleep out, downstairs on the
Mhm,
sofa,
mhm,
right?
yeah.
So you see that, maybe you think it's normal, but it's actually not.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily signal trouble in a marriage.
Right,
That's
exactly.
something that we have
That was just a
found.
bad habit, at least for my mom.
Yeah, and was it a bad habit? I mean, she
Right.
got her sleep, you know?
I don't think
His
she got
mom was 4'9", 4'11",
it's 4'11,
and his
yes.
father is 6'3".
Big dude.
So maybe she's like, "I'm gonna stay here all the time."
She never said if that's the case,
Yeah,
but you
but
never know.
imagine she could fit on a sofa like that,
Right.
or in a chair like that. So
Sure.
it might have been more comfortable for her.
Sure.
So again, it could be illness. Your mom had multiple sclerosis from the time you were 18, right? She
Sure.
was
Yeah.
diagnosed. So it might have been more comfortable for her illness
Mhm.
to be on the couch, or in a separate bed.
You
So
never
there's a
know.
lot of things, light or restless sleepers or people who sleep lightly. I'm a light sleeper. Everything
Yes, she
affects me.
is.
Now, I think I've become a light sleeper because we're going through that with him. Right now he is all over the place.
Oh,
Yeah, you are. So,
sorry.
but other partners, if they're a light sleeper and their spouse is a light sleeper, then they both are miserable because
That's
they're
true.
probably both not getting good sleep.
So anyway, let's see here. A couple points here talking about different body clocks. I touched on sleep apnea and people that snore and they sleep
Hmm.
by the machine.
Yeah,
What about different work schedules? A lot of times,
yeah.
there's different work schedules. One of you may work night shift or let's see, there's like something called the graveyard shift where you
Mhm.
work like I think it was 11 to 7 or something like that. So, and you really have to get your rest.
So I remember when I did a third shift. You guys remember in the first season we talked about how I
Oh,
had a
that's right.
job,
That's right.
and when I worked the third shift, I was sleeping. When I would come home, it was 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, and, sometimes I would just stay because I'm still wired. I mean, if you work third shift, when you get off, you're not tired, you're ready for the rest of the evening. You wanna get a snack or you wanna eat dinner. So being like that, in a situation where when you get off work, you're not tired. The last thing you wanna do is get in bed and wake up your spouse. So most likely you'll fall asleep when you're tired, and it will be on the chair, or on the sofa, or in a separate bedroom.
Right.
And again, it could be healthy for your marriage. It's just not a matter of, make sure you do have time together when you don't have the excuse of I'm working third shift, you
Right.
know?
I think the thing we want to raise with this topic is that this is a real issue. Again, one of those things that some couples are really wrestling with. Maybe, and there are some that obviously are impervious to this as well. But we never thought we would be having this
Yeah,
conversation. That is absolutely for
absolutely.
sure.
So, one thing that we're going to get into this further, but because we were asked to bring this topic up, we found out that I guess sometimes I do need my own space because of his adventures in his dreamland.
Right.
And sometimes people need their own space because they just want a cocoon. They just
That's
want to be
right.
able to sleep heavy and not be disturbed.
So we're going to move on right now to some stats and facts.
Okay.
And so here's one. According to a recent study by the International Housewares Association, 1 in 5 couples, okay, sleep in separate bedrooms.
That's a
Did you catch
lot.
that? 1 in 5 couples sleep in separate bedrooms,
Mhm.
and almost two-thirds of those do so every night.
Yeah.
Wow. Now
That
that's a shocker,
yeah, yeah.
right? 1 in 5
I
sleep in
don't know if
separate
that's
beds, and
healthy.
two-thirds of those do it every night.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if that's a healthy thing though.
So it says here, while some might assume that this sleeping style is a sign of a bad marriage, it can actually show a sign on the contrary.
But every
On the
night?
contrary.
Yeah, but
I don't know. What do you
every
guys think about that? How many of you guys out there sleep in separate beds? Just hit us
every
up
well, every
if you're
night.
not too embarrassed or whatever.
No,
But
it's
share if you're going through this. Why don't you share? Right
and if you're doing it, then you're probably not embarrassed. So yeah, share.
now, this should be a good one because this, according to the Sleep Foundation, okay, 60% of American couples sleep together. That's a good number, right? 60% sleep together. And we already discussed the other 40%
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
Okay. So that's an interesting dynamic. And now going to bed also at the same time as your spouse can provide multiple physical benefits as well and emotional benefits. And here are a few of them. Number one says intimacy. That's
Obviously,
important,
yeah. When
right?
you're going to bed together, you have time before going to sleep to have intimacy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And number two here is it creates good sleep habits,
Going
right?
to bed together. Remember, this is all listed under when you go to bed together.
Right.
Now, that's interesting because if you can't go to bed together, that's why you don't have good sleep habits
Yeah.
because somebody's working later or somebody likes to stay up later. So there have been times where Steven, and again, we'll get into this. He's like, "It's time to go to bed." I'm like,
Yeah.
"But I wanna finish watching football." He's like, "Time to go to bed." "Okay, okay, you're
Yes.
right, you're right. I'll record it." Yeah.
Exactly. Let's go, baby. Let's
Mhm,
go.
mhm.
Okay. And then number 3, it gives you a mental health boost.
Mm.
And 4, it helps regulate your body temperature. Wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting because now you got 2 people at 98 degrees. So that's
Mhm.
200 degrees between the 2 of you almost. All
Yeah,
right.
and we just actually just last night, I said, "Put the fan on," put it on higher because I was hot. Because sometimes you're hotter at night, and so but that helps regulate the 2 of
Yeah.
us. Because he ended up getting a blanket. And no, this is not back to episode 1, menopause. This is just happens to be that I was hotter last night, so he got a blanket, but it regulated
Yeah.
us so that we could be together as opposed to, "Oh, this is I'm uncomfortable, let me get out of the bed."
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. You want to catch that
Mhm.
one?
Sure. Okay, ready for this? You know what this is called a
I don't like
sleep
the word though.
I know, but it's called a sleep divorce. We don't like the word divorce, but this is
Yeah.
what a sleep divorce is: when you and your significant other sleep in separate bedrooms, separate beds, or at separate times. Believe it or not, this is actually a growing trend with many couples.
Right.
That's again, I don't know if that's a great thing or not. While it may feel like sleeping separately will harm your relationships, allowing resentment or anxiety to build over each other's sleeping habits can do even more harm.
That's
Now,
right.
that one
Yeah.
I have experienced, so I can attest to that. That's true. Sometimes you do get in a place where you just feel resentment. I can't get to sleep, and this person's
Right.
awake, sleeping. Uh, Global studies. We like to do global studies. Global studies show Magon Nevit, and Sajane Kalari. These are people who are researchers who studied the orgasmic history of oxytocin,
Yep.
which is love, lust, and labor. Okay, that's the name of the study. It releases oxytocin, the love hormone, and oxytocin helps you feel happy and relaxed, and it can help lower your blood pressure too. So, sleeping together and that
Yeah.
bonding that we just talked about releases oxytocin,
That's cool.
which is a good thing. Yeah.
Did you know that, guys? Did
It
you know
has
that when you're
nothing.
sleeping together, you get this hormone released?
Yeah, this joy, this
This
love, this
joy, right?
happiness, this and it's has nothing to do with a sexual intercourse. It has to do with just being happy to
Right.
be
Yeah.
together, loving the person you're with, love the one you're with, right?
Sure.
So that's
Yeah.
a really cool study also. Now, here's one. A study by Naturopedic surveyed 800 people varying in age. Ready for these percentages? 63% of millennials, excuse me, and 62% of Gen Zers say conflicting sleep wake schedules are why they sleep in separate beds
Oh,
or rooms. 63% of millennials and 62% of Gen Zs.
wow.
So that's the conflicting of schedules is why they sleep separately, which we were just talking about that.
Sure. Yeah.
Also, 54% of millennials stated sleep disorders cause them to sleep separately, compared to only 22% of baby boomers. Now that's interesting because we're baby boomers.
Right.
There's only
Yeah.
that's why we think it's weird because it's only 22% of us. It's like, that's kind of odd. But you've got 54% of millennials. Here's the other thing. If it's a sleep disorder, is that because of health purposes? How are you eating? Are you getting your exercise? Are you
Absolutely.
stressed at work? And millennials may be dealing with more things than baby boomers because they're in the midst of they're growing their career and they're growing their families. Baby boomers are finished. We're relaxed with, we're done. So that could be another reason why.
Sure.
You
Absolutely.
want to get that one?
So it says more than a third of Americans say they occasionally or consistently sleep in another room from their partner. According to a survey from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, the
Yeah.
bottom line is this is a sensitive topic,
Hmm.
and it depends upon your relationship with your spouse,
Hmm.
how and where you sleep.
Yeah.
Again, as you're listening to this in the audience, what is your situation, right?
And we're seeing from these stats it's beneficial on both sides.
Right.
It just depends on the purpose. What is the heart's desire? What is the real purpose behind the sleeping um, separately?
Right. And again, if you're the spouse that's on the raw end of the deal, meaning that the commotion and the things that your spouse is doing, is it fair that you have to be on the raw end of it all the time? No, I think what we're seeing here is that's
Mhm.
not it's not fair,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
So we're going to get into our real raw experience. You guys know we call it being real raw with you.
yes,
And I'm going to start off. Okay. So, literally we did not have any sleep issues until last year. Something happened last year. And I really believe it was based on, again, the andropause and menopause situation from last episode. Uh, but somehow we believe it's also due to Stephen's hectic schedule. Between all those things, he is constantly on the go in business and flying to different locations and always in a rental car and always talking to different people. You podcasters know what that's like when you're in demand across the country. You're always going somewhere. So he is out there all the time meeting people, solving problems, and those type of things. So I think that was part of the, and I said the hormone change also, but I think that's part of the reason why when Steven sleeps and he's on the
This is
road,
funny,
yeah,
guys. I mean,
I have
what is
record,
the honest confession is good for the
yeah, I
soul.
have recorded him. I'm like, what is going on? Steven has talked in his sleep.
Oh boy.
Steven has walked in his sleep.
And I don't even know I'm
Steven
doing
is
these
giving
things.
directions. You go down here and then take a yeah, yeah, that's right. Take a right. And then when you stop giving directions, Steven has gotten up in the bed and literally just walked into a wall one time. He'll tell you about that one. Just he was adamant. I was in the
It's
bed
not
next to
funny,
him and
Stephen.
I looked up. I was like, oh my gosh, he's walking into a wall. And then he crashes and goes back to sleep. Steven has even preached in his sleep. He gave a great message. I mean, I had my phone up and I let him watch it. He's like, wow. And at the very end, he said, "Amen and thank you very much."
Oh my gosh.
It's like there's no and he doesn't remember any of it, you guys.
Zero.
None of it.
Zip.
Because when I would tell him he'd do it, he goes, "That's not true. Come on. Are you serious?" So I
Oh
was like,
god.
"Okay, fine. I'm gonna record it." So now, like I said, I usually keep my phone off. No. Now I just keep it on so that he can see every time he does something unique. Now, granted, he's also defended me in the bed, which means he's punching or he's nudging or he's and I'm like, "Whoa," or
That's
he's
because somebody was coming after her,
yeah,
right? To
and I'm like,
protect
"Hey,
her,
hey, hey,
right? What are
watch
we
it."
supposed to
Yeah,
do?
I feel a nudge in my ribs
I'm
or
supposed to
or
protect my
he's
wife,
grabbing me
right?
real hard. I'm like, "Let go of me." So, yeah. So there have been many
Oh,
times I'm like, "Okay, here's the thing. I really wanna get up and go I wanna go in the guest bedroom and I wanna go to sleep, but I don't wanna hurt his feelings, you know?" So I have gotten up and gotten and I mean, this is after me yelling, going, "Hey, wake up. Do you know what you're doing?" He's like, "No, what?" I'm like, "That's it, enough." And it has been a point of contention between us. So I've gone upstairs and I've gone into the guest bedroom and I have gone to sleep for the rest of the night. And then when I wake up in the morning, I come down and he's sitting in the bed like, "Hi, what happened last night?" I'm like, "Ah!" So yeah. And for me, yes, he has said, "Well, you snore." I'm like, so what? Like, okay, so I snore. Does it wake you up? And he's actually said it woken
oh
him up.
yeah, it
Yeah.
has. It's just part of the process though, and we're working through it. So
Mhm.
we know we're more than likely
But
the
didn't you
only
say my
couple.
snoring is cute?
Yeah, it is. We're more than likely the only couple who's ever dealt with something
Oh,
like
yeah,
this.
of course.
So
Yeah, yeah.
y'all just pray for us and we'll get better. So anyway, I will say this that I actually don't know I'm doing these things, and it's a real bummer because to think about what I'm doing unconsciously is having an adverse impact on her ability to get a good
Oh,
night's rest.
yeah.
And if I do happen to wake up and I see she's gone, I just really feel bad. It just, she comes down, the first thing I do is apologize and say, I'm sorry.
Well, do you?
Um, yeah, I do, absolutely.
Okay, okay.
And
Sometimes, yeah.
so one of the things that has happened is we have tried a variety of different things. I have not had a sleep study. I'm yet to have a sleep
Mhm,
study, but I'm actually contemplating that. But ever, I just wanted to say there are some things that we've talked to our at our practice and our naturopath, and
mhm.
one of the things that they recommended for me was a supplement called melatonin. Some of you guys may have heard of this. I didn't do well with melatonin.
No.
Melatonin. I mean, I literally was having nightmares, and
Mhm,
I actually got up and ran into a wall because
mhm.
I thought I was in a race to a pot of gold. So, I mean, I told that to my practitioner, and she said, "You know what, Stephen, that is very common. It either works or it
Yeah,
doesn't work." So,
it doesn't
needless to
work.
say, melatonin did not work for me. If some of you guys have tried melatonin, it worked for you. It'd be great
Mm,
to hear your story. But anyway, I just wanted to make a point that I actually hate when Corey has to go to a separate bed. So we're working feverishly to get our solution to this and tighten it up so that
mhm.
we can, overcome this obstacles. Again, on this journey, here we are 41 years into another little thing too.
Another topic for the show.
Another little topic, another little deal that, we're confronted with that we're going to work through
Yeah,
and we will ultimately succeed
yeah.
because that's what we do.
What's interesting is that at first he said, "Come on, it can't be that bad." He didn't believe me. He's like, "Yeah." you're just being sensitive, or it can't be that bad until I record it. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
sometimes you may have to record the situations to convince your spouse that I have to sleep in a separate bed, you know?
Yeah,
And it's not that I want to, it's just that I have to. I
sure.
have to get my rest.
And again, these are real issues, and you folks brought this to the surface, and we sort
Mhm.
of said, "Hey, we this is definitely an issue we got to talk about
Yeah.
because we're dealing with it ourselves."
So
So
now we go into your questions. So we've got a few questions. We didn't have a lot from our study group, our focus group, but we did have some people go, I'll say something.
yeah, absolutely. So
Because it
let's
is a sensitive, that's why Steven said, if it's a sensitive issue and you want to comment, we really appreciate it, because even in our focus group, they're like, I'm going to say something here, and some people said, but they said, please don't leave it as a question. So we're like, okay, yeah. So what do we have first?
so here's one. This is Martha from Minnesota. Says,
Oh, she gave her, we don't usually have people give names
eh,
and where they're located.
well,
So
they did so.
thank you,
Okay,
Martha.
Martha from Minnesota. Because I sleep in the guest bedroom, my husband is big. He was a wrestler.
Mm.
My husband says he is starting to feel more like a flatmate than a couple.
Oh,
How can we solve this?
Minnesota. She must be British.
Maybe.
Flatmate.
What do you think about that?
Well, if you want to sleep in the same bed and it has nothing to do with static or discomfort, just because he's bigger, I would tell you to. We just talked about his parents, 6'3" and 4'9". He was a big guy and she was just tiny. So she ended up sleeping in the chair. I would tell you, get a bigger bed. Get a California king size bed, or maybe get 2 queen size beds. If your room can handle 2 queen size beds, just get 2 queen size beds, because you already have the sheet size, and push them together. Because if he's feeling neglected, or like, "No, I just feel like she's my flatmate or roommate," that's not a good thing.
Hmm.
So I would encourage you to do what you can to sleep in the same bed with your husband, especially if he
Yeah,
desires that. Lucky you. He wants to be with you.
absolutely.
What do you think?
Absolutely. I agree with that. I think whatever it takes to be able to make it work out where you guys can actually sleep together versus him feeling like he's a solo mate,
Mhm.
because you don't want to be there is really important.
Yeah, yeah.
You know. So, all right. Next one. Let's see here.
What do you guys say about that? You also comment below. And if you're listening to this on audio, comment on the YouTube, or on the podcast, wherever you're watching, whenever you're listening from.
Okay, so here we go. Um, this one says, "We worry there could be a deeper meaning to sleeping separately because people tell us it could lead to other issues with our intimacy, but we like to have our separate sleep times. Is that bad? Will we ruin our marriage?" Oh, that's a good one.
What do you think about that?
I think that the concern is a legitimate concern. To full candor here, that was one of my concerns. It's like, okay, if we start to sleep in separate beds because of me, something I'm doing, hey, what's that going to how's that going to impact, other areas of our life? Are there other collateral things that will happen as a result of that? So certainly I think it should be a concern. How about you?
I think it's a matter of why, because it doesn't say why they are sleeping in separate beds. It just says we worry there could be a deeper meaning to sleeping
Sure.
separately, because people tell us. So why are you sleeping separately? That's the deeper meaning.
Right.
You got to find the purpose behind the cause.
Right.
You're doing something. Well, what's the purpose on doing that?
Hmm.
Is it time? Is it Are you still having intimate time and then you're separating yourselves? Because if you feel like it's okay, but we like to have our separate sleeping times. So does that mean somebody's sleeping in the bed at a different time than you are, and then you sleep later, second shift? That's what you have to clarify within yourselves to figure out, what, maybe this is going to work for us because we're respecting our times together.
Right.
And then you
Right.
come together to have whatever special time in that same bed together. But try sleeping together 2 nights per week. Let's say you work five
That's good.
days. Take those 2 days that you're not working and sleep together. Try that, because that might be exactly what you need. You might need to just take 2 days a week to reconnect in that bed.
Sure. Absolutely. That's good. That's good.
See how that goes.
Next one, Corey. Next
Okay,
one.
let's see. Next one. I'll do this one.
Okay.
Okay. We have chosen to sleep in separate beds during the week. Which I
Not my plan.
However, my husband sneaks into my bed when I'm sleeping and then he wakes me up, which then leads to fights.
Oh,
How do I
no.
give him special time but still get my rest? Oh, he's
Yeah.
sneaking in your bed. That's something he would probably do, you know?
I would.
Oh,
Yep.
lucky you. That's great. That's great. Your man wants to be with you. I think this is a great thing. Okay, so how about you? Do you ever go in his bed? Maybe that's what you
Oh,
need
it's a
to
good
do.
one.
Maybe you need to be with him first
That's
before
right.
you sleep in separate beds.
Right.
Again, if he's sneaking into your bed, he's saying, I need this.
Yeah.
I need this.
Right.
He's not doing to irritate you. I don't think.
Yeah.
So if he needs that, then, give him that.
Right.
Say, honey, I'm going to join you in your bed before I go sleep in mine. And again, what is the reason behind it? But give him the special attention he desires because he is desiring that.
Yeah.
So good
Yeah.
for you. What do you think about
Well,
that?
look, here's the thing. Okay. There is nothing. Now, listen, I'm going to mention this. I'm going to be very, very candid. This is non sexual. Okay. However, I want to say, in my opinion, okay, in my opinion, there is nothing like sleeping in a spooning position
Mhm.
with your spouse and putting your arm around them. I mean, if they're not there, you can't do that,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And that's one of the things that I personally do not want to give up.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, wonderful feeling. I didn't realize that we were creating the oxytocin, right? That's the
That's probably
oxytocin. But again, if you sleep that way, you understand exactly what I'm saying is something you probably would never want to give up. It's a beautiful feat.
absolutely. So that back to that. So if you're with him and give him that attention and stay with him until he falls asleep,
And
and
then
then
you
you
can
leave,
just
he's
creep out.
happy.
Right.
He's happy, he's asleep, and then you can go get your sleep. It's a win-win in that
Win-win.
case. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, yeah.
So
So that's it for the questions. Again, we didn't have a lot of questions this week, but that's okay because we got some really good ones. And
exactly.
if you have any questions regarding that, please put them in the comments so that we can hit on those. When we get a chance to, we can either comment back there or we'll put it into our next show.
Absolutely.
So
And
yeah,
so we're going to be wrapping up here for this podcast. But again, like, subscribe, hit the button. Okay, pass it
share, yeah,
around, share, help us on this mission to
to
help
reach a million.
millions
Yes,
of couples, really learn how to enjoy their marriage
and get it
and
together.
take it to the
Yes,
next level by
yes,
getting it together.
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 He loves
So
to do
until
this.
next week, folks,
Yeah, we'll see you
we'll
later.
see you later.
Have a great week.
Have a great week. Bye now.